the mountain. For some reason, it just won't work. So, oh well.
Ah, well. No biggie.
Yeah.
We're live now. Oh, so what else is going on in the great state of New Mexico, Dakota?
Well, we're still under it's a mixed bag of social distancing and quarantine rules unless you're protesting, but you can't rodeo, but you can protest. So we're done, Brandon. Doing a lot of fencing right now, which is always fun, and windmilling and all the really glamorous cowboy stuff that you always see in the movies,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds straight up.
Are you going around like Monty Walsh style and just roping a bunch of longhorns? Not really ever doing anything with them, but roping the fuck out of them.
Just roping them and tying them to random trees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just because you can.
No, the last thing I roped with any good antlers was a neighbor bull that jumped in, and I did my best to bounce his head off the front of the catch trailer. That was about it.
I haven't had anything all that exciting happen here lately. It's been pretty slow. We shipped out our Mexican steers, and we've still got now about 1,500 head of native cattle, and then just Holstein heifers. The joys of life.
So when y'all ship those Mexican cattle, you'll send them to grass, right?
Yeah, they were headed over the hill into California.
So do they switch companies, or do y'all have control of that too?
No, see our yard. Without getting into too many details, there's a big operator out of California. He owns a bunch of ranches. He used to be kind of the head of Harris Feeding Company out of California. But he's got a bunch of ranches. California is kind of like eastern Kansas with the grass. It's real seasonal, but
Right.
It's real like belly deep grass. You get some good cattle coming off the Sierras in the fall. But so he owns like the majority stake of this yard, and then the other half is or almost half is owned by a dairy out of California who's they hit all those dairy families are related. Like the big dairies out of California and now in like Kansas and New Mexico and Texas, they're all out of California originally, but they're all related somehow.
Yeah.
And so he's the guy that partners on it, and he's got some family members that have a bunch of other dairies, and so we breed and we grow and breed those heifers for them. And then on the beef side, we'd background native cattle to go to grass in California, and then Holstein steers to go to feed in California at the big Harris yard. But that changed hands here a year and a half ago, something like that. And maybe not even that long, about a year ago, I think. And so the guy that owns this stake, he kind of got pushed out, but he also owns I don't know if he owns it outright or if he's partnered on North Platte feeders out of Nebraska. So all of our native cattle, they're either going to grass or they're headed to feed out in Nebraska. So
Gotcha.
We're just stopping off point, line them out so the cowboys like yourself don't have anything to do. And they don't have anything to do because I'm pretty goddamn good at my job.
Yeah.
I also talk a lot of shit. I don't know how much of that's true, but I haven't got many complaints, I guess. So
Yeah. Well, we kind of do the same here, except so over here on like the West Division, we're the cow calf side, but on the East Division, we have our own grow yard. And so in the fall, instead of selling all our calves, we just send them to the grow yard, and they'll keep them in the yard for a little while, get them straight, kick them out on wheat, let them get boosted up to 900, give or take, and then send them to a yard to finish them. And the joke always is, like, we load them on the truck and say, well, y'all won't have any problems with them. I done straighten them out for you. So that's just kind of the running joke.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I always, when I was working at Cactus there, we'd, we calved out and then weaned calves there. And then from there, we backgrounded those calves to send over to, most of them went to the Ulysses feed yard. And,
Right.
And there was one lot that we sent over. Of course, we had hell, calving that many out in the feed lot. It's just, unless there's some sort of radical vaccine technology in the near future, like that will never work on a large scale. It just,
right.
There's too many bugs.
Yeah.
And those, especially the heifers, they don't have much maternal ability anyways that first year, but they lose a lot of what they have when you confine them all. Like we had, you'd have one with a calf on the ground and then like 5 or 6 of them with bags hanging out trying to mother that one on the ground. And, and then they just, none of them would try to push. And it was a wreck. Whitted Equine, howdy from Canada. What's going on in the Great White North? Yeah, it is. But we had one lot that we sent over to Ulysses that they outside of the processing, they spent $20 in medicine on a 150 head lot, and so I was like, well, that makes me feel pretty damn good because we sent them the best of the best.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. They the thing was that, like, the ones that did make it through and got shipped out to the big yard, they performed out of this world. They were, kind of Angus cross heifers on some pretty high powered Charolais bulls.
Right.
And, so they had those old smoke colored Charolais calves hitting the ground, and those fuckers just pop once they hit feed, they just balloon up. And so like the conversion and the closeout on those lots were just out of this world, but the death loss on our side was, I don't think we ever got under like 15%. It was rough.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we are a commercial and registered Angus cow outfit, but golly, I do love them smoked calves. I mean, just, they look good. I like it when you brand them. Them brands look really good on that smoked hide.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They are dumber than a box of rocks, but they, you talk about putting some pounds on. Holy shit.
Yeah, they do really, really good in the yard. I know that.
Yeah.
But as long as you can keep them, alive, usually from, their own stupidity, but they do really good. They do really good.
Hell yeah. They are about the dumbest breed of cattle outside of the Holstein or the Jersey or any dairy breed. Of real cattle, non-dairy cattle. Of the real cattle, Charolais are probably the dumbest.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could be wrong, but in my experience, like a Charolais cross, they're just something not wired right in their brain.
Well, like, we do have some Charolais cows, don't get me wrong, because we we cross, a little bit of stuff here and there, but you'll be running a bunch of them cows like to AI them and stuff. You got to run through a chute. Angus cow walk up, kind of stick her head, in the head gate, wait for the gate to squeeze. Next one will be Charlie. She'll come 9-0 and just boom. I mean, try to knock the front end out of that chute. And you look at her like an 8-year-old cow, be like, wow, you've done this quite a few times and you're still trying to blow the welds off this thing.
Yeah.
So, you'll have that.
Yeah. There's some wild bitches. That's for sure. Trying to find our polls for the Cut the Cards challenge. Anyhow, Tombstone won the Cut the Cards Invitational as the best Western movie of all time.
Just another failure of the year 2020.
Yeah, there you go.
I know, and it makes me really mad because I love Tombstone. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
But in no possible way is it the best Western of all time.
No, like it's just a Western cult classic. I feel like, it's like, all the kids, kind of like Robbie watching 8 Seconds and be like, I want to ride bulls when I grow up. Kind of the same thing.
I know it.
Kind of
Yeah.
same thing.
It was definitely the best Wyatt Earp story ever told on film.
Yeah, for sure.
True.
On that end. For sure on that end. But yeah, as the best Western, come on.
No fucking way.
Get the fuck out of town.
When the Cowboys went down, I was out. Like I was fed up with it. I'd had enough. I really thought the Cowboys was going to pull through. It was going to fight and it was going to die on that hill. But it started off. It was like 49-51. Cowboys over Tombstone, and then it flip flop, but it was right there. A lot of times it was right at 50-50, and then a bunch of these young shitheads started rolling in and swung it, and I think it's a travesty. It is a damn travesty. All right, well, let me put my screen up here, and we got Tombstone, 74% of the vote. Open Range with 26. How the fuck did Open Range? Come on. I once again, I like Open Range. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
I hate to talk shit on it, but Elite 8, maybe, but definitely not in the final two.
No, there were a shit ton of better movies that depicted cowboy culture better than a more modern fucking Western, in my humble opinion.
Well, I think so too. And then for the consolation prize, which really should have been the 1-2 selection, Outlaw Josie Wales versus the Cowboys. This being a cowboy group, being a cowboy podcast. No offense to Clint Eastwood, but he's not much of a cowboy. He's a hell of a Western actor. John Wayne played cowboy movies. He had a lot of Western movies, but he also had quite a few cowboy movies, and the Cowboys being the best of them, 72-28 over Josie Wales. That's a hell of a matchup there.
Yeah.
And only 123 votes as opposed to the 258 on the original one, but there's 88 of you there that know what's up. Oh, Tombstone. I don't even like to talk shit on Tombstone, but
Yeah.
come on. Worst listeners ever. Jesus. Except for those who voted like I wanted you to vote.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, Jesse, I was telling Dakota earlier, he was asking what we were thinking for a topic, and I was really digging this conversation that you guys were having last night. Was it last night on the Snap group about what's it take to
Legacy.
start how to create a multi-generational ranch starting from scratch right now.
Yep.
And I was watching a movie with my wife because it was her birthday, and I'm had my obligations, but I was following along with the conversation. I just couldn't chime in much. And but I think that's a great topic for tonight, because I think, and I don't want to speak for Dakota, but I'd say, well, Robbie's supposed to be on here. Thad's supposed to be on here. Who knows? I never know what Thad's doing. But I could say that we're all kind of in that position right now. Like, how do we get something of our own, and how do we maintain it? Like, build it and maintain it to where it'll be, a ranch that's known for decades to come. And I'm guessing you're kind of in that spot, Dakota.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I did not come from a cowboy family. In fact, there was a time in my life where I could kick flip a skateboard a hell of a lot better than I could ride a horse. And I wasn't even around this game until I started getting on junior bulls and stuff when I was like 14-ish, 15, so in there, and started rodeoing for a while. I was like, hey, this cowboy deal is kind of fun, like I'd like to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm, kind of first generation cowboy, I guess. And I mean, now, I've kind of worked my way up, and I'm a camp man now and have been for a minute. And I'm kind of on that same page of, when do you step out and start your own deal? Nobody wants to work for somebody else for forever. You want to look out the door and kind of see your own cows grazing around out there. But it's tough to kind of know where to start when you don't have, when you don't inherit a ranch or have somebody kind of help get you started, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. And so, like, I grew up around it, and my dad always ran cattle, but it was like we were more on like the hobby side of things, like, I mean, we lived it, but like as far as our scale, it was, I think we, on a good year, we could maybe run 100, $125. But on an average year, you're looking at, 50, 60 head, and that you could run year round without having to feed a whole lot. And, but my mom taught school, and then my dad worked for a gas company and day work and stuff. But, it, like we had our own little outfit, but like it wasn't like our main source of income. The cows were just kind of, to help get through. And then I got a huge family. Like I'm one of 8. So by the time that all, what little ground we have gets divided up, there's nothing to start with. So like, I don't see, unless I just get rich at some point, I'm not moving back to Tobacco County, Colorado, because I can't make a go of it. There's not enough opportunity for me to make a living outside of punching cows to make it, just to make a viable go of it, especially with a family. So like, I think, you either have to live real lean to get enough to get started and be, just, loaned out the ass to, and then you're just busting ass just to try to make your payment, let alone anything extra, and or you've got to figure out a way to make enough money to buy cows on the side and start building slow that way. And that seems the more feasible way. You know, it takes a little longer, but it's you know, it's a tough deal. Like the cattle market's shit. Land prices are high. you got the government pushing and prodding at every single turn. You know, the government's got their hand out wanting more and more money, whether it be on grazing permits or building permits or taxes. Just every little thing they want a cut of it, and at the same time you got a note to pay off, and you're waiting on rain, and it's just, oof. I don't know if there is a good way to go about it, except other than get rich and then try to lose it all buying cows. So,
right. And you watch like on these, you know, I don't know if the number still holds true today, but I read somewhere that the cow number for an outfit to sustain itself is 500 head. But 500 head, a cow outfit can sustain itself. I don't know if that's still true or not, but that's the last deal I read. But you look at these bigger outfits that, you know, are self-sustaining, doing good, and the patriarch or the matriarch, you know, passes away and it gets inherited. Well, now these outfits are facing a death tax. And a lot of times that death tax is what puts the, you know, good ranches under, is they just can't do it. For example, well, I mean, I'm sure that, you know, they're doing okay, but the 4-6's matriarch Nissan passed away, and now it goes. She has one heir, and that's the next Nissan. And I'm not, you know, I heard the number that the death tax is going to cost. I'm not going to share it, but it was an astronomical number. Like, whoa, wow. And you just wonder how a ranch recovers from that when, I mean, most places are doing good to break even on any given year. You know, that's got to be really tough.
Yeah. One thing I can tell you on our outfit is if I wanted to hire a hired hand, that person's wage takes 50 cows right out the cut. 50 head cows to pay for that one person. So now that doesn't count, you know, all the expenses that go into that operation, like the feed, if you're putting up your own hay. And I think anymore, the way things are going, based on everything you said, Matt, if you're going to run cows, you can't be a hay outfit. You just can't. The price of equipment is just way too freaking expensive. You need so much ground to sustain that cow herd, and then with the additional expense of hay equipment, the upkeep and all that jazz, it's tough if you're trying to start from scratch. So then you're buying hay, right? Which hay is inflated, you know, to all get out. And I mean, it's a nightmare. And even like you're saying, Dakota, I mean, my situation is a little bit different, coming from generations of ranching family, but my great grandfather left a very badass ranch to my grandfather. He was not an only child, but his two siblings had died quite early on in their lives. One was 19 and one was 25. So he inherited the whole thing. It was debt free by the time he got it. But and this was in Steamboat Springs, Colorado area. Oak Creek is actually where it's at, but it's not good cow country. You know, you get 30 something feet of snow a year, and you're lucky if you get 1.5 cuttings of hay a year, you know, maybe. And at those high altitudes. And so, I mean, it was just rough country to run cows. And So he started having to sell off pieces of property to sustain itself. And so the acreage shrinks. He has 4 kids. Now they become the heirs. How do you split something that can barely sustain itself as it is between 4 kids and allow for that to continue on? The only way for somebody to do it would be to buy everyone else out. But as Matt said, the price of land is so fucking expensive. You're basically making a decision. Can I pay this place off before my kids get it? Is it even possible? You
Right.
know? And most of the time, the answer, I believe, is fuck no. I mean, the interest runs it. It just does.
I think there's a rule of 3, and I've watched several ranches go under that fell to this rule of 3. So the rule of 3 that I've come up with is this: the first generation starts the ranch, the second generation builds the ranch, and the third generation loses the whole damn thing. Yeah. And I can't put my finger on why it always falls that way. Sometimes I think the second generation, sees how hard, the first generation's work, so they try hard. Well, the third generation comes around, and to them, the ranch has always been here, so they don't take as much pride into it, I guess, or even wanting to be a part of it. Which, if you're not like me and you're born into a ranching family and it's not what you want to do, by all means, get out, because there's a lot easier ways to make a living and spend time with your family and, live the way you want to live. But that third generation seems to really be a nail in the coffin for a lot of different outfits.
Well, my dad and I were visiting about this very thing this morning. And I'm very fortunate because my dad is extremely forward thinking. And obviously a lot of it has to do with our own personal experience in this very situation. And we were lucky because we had a hell of a good business in the oil patch and sold it before the oil went bust after this last boom. And that allowed us to get started here in southern Montana doing what we're doing. And to purchase to convince the bank that we were capable of eventually paying this fucker off, right? But I mean, that kind of income is since long gone. So but he was talking about exactly what you're talking about, Dakota, in that, the first generation, my great grandfather came from Baggs, Wyoming. His parents kicked him out at 14, gave him 2 good horses and a totally worthless saddle horse, and said, "Sorry, we can't feed you. Go make your way." He heard that there was work down in Walden, Colorado in the mines, drove his team down there. It took him 30 days to get there. Works for a while. He hears about the coal mine boom in Oak Creek, Colorado, and he hauls ass up to Oak Creek and was able to homestead some ground. And in doing so, got his start, and he literally started with nothing. Now, you just can't do that in this day and age. It just doesn't.
Right.
We're not economically set up that way anymore. The land's all gone, right? Now, unless you want swamp in Alaska, I've heard. But Dad was saying, as he grew up working that ranch, it was just like what you're saying, Dakota. I mean, he saw a badass tract of land that was very functional. Everything, all the hard ass make it or break it type work was done. Right? My great grandparents had that all mapped out. And when my grandfather stepped in, it was turnkey, right? Turnkey deal. Everything was there. The groundwork had been completed. It was already well paid for, and they were off to the races. And then he said, I was talking to my daughter's 14, and we were talking about that very thing. And she's like, "There's no way in hell I can see myself grabbing 2 plow horses and a saddle horse and riding for 30 days somewhere to a mine where I don't know somebody." She's like, "I don't even know how to harness a team, Dad." I don't know what the hell am I going to do when I get there, And
Yeah.
that's the thing, that kind of grit and tenacity has been so watered down from generation to generation. I think your rule of threes is spot the fuck on, man.
I think
Yeah.
it's a lot like the Mexican immigrants that come over, like the first generation that whether they do it the right way or they hop the border and pack their happy ass across the Arizona desert, however they get over here and get a job, those are the hardest working fucking people you'll ever meet in your life. Like,
Yeah.
you give me 10 white dudes or one first generation Mexican immigrant, I'll take the Mexican guy 10 times out of 10.
Hell yeah.
Because he'll outlast them, he'll work for cheaper, and he'll be happy with whatever any type of bonus you give him, like whether it be just give him a Gatorade at lunch, he'll be happy as hell. And then like his kids, they'll be all right. They'll be pretty good. And then his grandkids, probably not worth a fuck. And and I don't know why that is. It is. But hey, before we go any farther, Haley, I saw you. If you look right here, I'm now an ordained minister. So it's on in September in Nebraska. I'm gonna officiate my first wedding.
Woohoo!
Right on.
Yeah. All brought to you because of this little shit show called the Burning Daylight Podcast.
Is there going to be
awesome,
a live podcast from the altar?
There might be. I don't know. We'll have to talk. I don't know if she's down for that or not, but it could be funny. We're going to do a live podcast from Stetson Ranch, though, probably on the 4th of July.
Hell yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
Freedom.
Fuck yeah. Live on the 4th of July. We'll read the Declaration of Independence, which I think might be the most important historical document on the face of the planet. It's regardless of the times going on, that document said a lot. It changed the course of the world for good, I think. And there's been some shit storms along the way, but I think those words ring true, especially if you read the entire deal. It's why they did what they did. I think we'd be a lot better off if we paid attention to those grievances today, because the shit that they waged war over don't hold a candle to the stuff that we're going through today. And I don't know. It's an important document, and I'm pretty stoked to read it and drink a few beers with my buddy Jesse Stetson, and Sam McHugh will be there as well. And in Montana, dust to dust. Now let us all go on to Montana.
It's the cattleman's paradise here, Jake. Tell it.
Yes, sir. You know what also is a cattleman's paradise? Loma Livestock. Loma Livestock, owned and operated by my good buddy George Raptopoulos there in Loma, Colorado. You can find them there right at 1369 12.5 Road. Next Friday, they got a sale, 10 o'clock Mountain Time, with starting at 10 o'clock. It's cows and singles, followed by the feeders at 11. If you can't make it, don't worry about it. Go to dvauction.com. You can watch the sale online. Click on the Loma Livestock tab. You can bid on there as well. And you got any other questions, you give them a holler, 970-858-9988. Check them out online, lomalivestock.com. Also, we got Nick Allen Lute. He's watching. He's he's expanded his business from rawhide braiding to saddle repair as well, and that's what he's doing tonight. Otherwise, he'd be shooting the shit with us. But he's actually got some shit to do, unlike us lazy fucks. And he's braiding some rawhide probably tomorrow. He's working on a saddle tonight, but I don't have any of them here with me. But Jesse, you got yours the other day, huh?
I did. I might have one. I put one on a rope. I haven't got to use it yet, but
Nice.
I got one laying around here somewhere.
Cool. But they're really, really a cool product. The guy is pretty talented. What it is it's a rawhide piece that goes on the end of your rope. They're tougher than hell. They add some speed, they add some weight. You can really reach out with your loop on one, or you can use it to throw some fancy loops if you're into that type of deal. If you'd like one, you can find him on Facebook, Nick Allen Lute, Lute, or at Will Cowboy for Food on Facebook. It's all one word. Probably second best Instagram name of all time, behind my buddy Jake Houston with Conway Shitty. But anyway, thanks George and Loma Livestock. Thanks Nick. And oh, by the way, if you buy anything from Nick, tell him you heard about it on the Burning Daylight podcast. He'll cut you a little deal because he's a stand-up dude. Anyways, yeah, I'm not sure what the best way to get started with a ranch anymore. Like I'm trying to make some money off this podcast so I can squirrel away enough money that I can lose it in the cow business later on. But by that point, I'll have a turnkey operation here where I can just keep using my podcast money to fund my cattle failures. But
There you go.
we're a ways away from that right now. But studio's first step. I don't know if you guys noticed, but we are live from the studio this time, and we've finally got internet hooked up. So the Beats Laboratory is here. It's already falling apart.
China.
Bitch.
Yeah.
China.
Buy this shit in America.
It's with a J. China.
China.
Gina.
Did you touch my
It's,
drumstick?
wasn't there oh yeah, 40-year-old virgin. You know who was kind of hot? Gina.
I love Steve Carell.
Oh man. That was a funny movie.
Oh, the chest waxing scene, man. One of my all-time.
And that was all real too, because he honestly thought
Yeah.
it wasn't gonna hurt that bad. And that dude is just like one step south of a grizzly bear. Like
Right.
that's a lot of
He's
freaking
a
hair.
hairy son of a bitch. That's a fact.
Yeah, that he had to have been hurting for weeks after that. Whew. Those suckers were in there deep.
Yeah, every time I watch that scene, man, I can't breathe.
When he's walking home,
Yeah.
you can see the blood on his shirt.
Screaming at that poor lady, priceless.
Oh man. I still to this day there's certain buddies when I'll call them and it goes to voicemail. I'll just be like, "Hello, this is James, and I'd like to talk to you about your laundry detergent."
Speaking of blood, just getting back to what Jesse said, it really kind of like caught my attention. I think, as far as I'm concerned, there's three things that you have to, or one of three things you have to inherit to kickstart your cow operation. One would be cows. Two would be land. And if you don't have the land for said cows, you have to have feed of some sort. Because, there are operations that don't have that much land, but they got a bunch of cows because they got a bunch of feed. But another key factor that I feel like is missing, especially from today's society, is the want to and the grit and the bottom end to bust your ass every day, 20 hours a day for months on end. And at the end of the year, you don't make a dime and you turn around and do it all over again. Like, I don't see that many young people today that can do it.
Work ethic.
Yeah. Just good old American work ethic.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
too, in this day and age, there's a lot of ways you can fake it. I mean, just about anybody can go out there and get a mortgage on a pickup. You know, those new
Yeah.
pickups are more about 80 grand or whatever. I mean, shit.
It's wild, ain't it?
It's nuts. I mean, you know, Dad and we try to buy older used equipment and stuff just to, because we're pretty handy, luckily, on mechanicing, but even the older stuff that's damn near wore out, man, good fucking luck. I mean, it's rough. I mean, there's just too much stacked against you. And I think as far as starting from scratch, man, you got to find a good partner. Either a guy that's cool with playing the long game with you, you know, and trying to be a silent partner. I've seen guys pull that off, but it takes the right duo, and it's such a risky business. It's hard to put together a business plan to convince people to loan you that kind of money, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
And even the government programs, like the beginner farmers notes and stuff, hell, you got to write a fucking 5-chapter book, you know, to convince them to even look at it. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, you have to lay out your whole plan from day one. It's out to like 5 years, I think.
10.
Something like that.
It's a fucking
10.
Yeah.
Okay, so from day one to year 10, you have to figure out what the market's going to do, what the weather's going to do. I mean, nobody can predict that, but yeah, I've heard of guys doing that, and that's mind blowing to me. I mean, another thing thinking about, you know, is like, I mean, you see, you know, young guys, you know, wanting to get started, and maybe they're a cowboy and maybe they aren't, but I've seen more than one guy come out of a prestigious ranch management program that can't ride a horse, can't drag calves, can't actually do the deal. Yeah. And I feel like we're one of the industries where your best education is doing the dang thing. Like getting out there and getting dirty. Oh, yeah. And I don't see a lot of younger people taking that route, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I've noticed, because I started out, you know, in the feedlot game as a manager trainee, and I got up to cattle manager and, you know, kind of sort of assistant manager of a yard. And, you know, when you're on a smaller kind of mom and pop place, that's a good place to be if they can pay you. Like if they're set up to where they can pay you a competitive wage. That's the problem with mom and pop places. They're a whole of a lot more fun to work for. They let you do your thing. They understand that a rope is a tool, and you know, and they let you use it. But a lot of times they don't have the cash to pay a guy that appreciates all that, you know, because just as the market works, that guy's worth a hell of a lot more money than what they got going on. Yeah. So you go to these corporate outfits, and you know they take all the cowboy out of it. Yep. You know and there's, I don't know how Five Rivers is anymore, but you know it was pretty rough when I was there, and then I know some people that worked there after me, and it just got worse. Like, it was bad enough with their safety regulations. Like they told you what types of bits you could wear in your horse's mouth, and man, that's just, yeah, I can't abide by that shit.
No, fuck that.
And yeah, like I understand that, like the no rope yards. I get it from the corporate level, but man, if you don't want a good cowboy to come work for you, which is what it takes to be successful on,
Yeah.
Whether you're stocker, cow calf, or feedlot. You're gonna need good cowboys to be successful. And if you don't want what comes with a good cowboy, meaning a rope, sometimes some bronchi horses, don't get in the game. That's
Yep.
I've
It's-
heard of feedlots going as far as like not just the yard that I worked for. It was not a no rope, no lope yard. It was a, they'd dang sure watch you, but like if you knew what you were doing, like even on a colt, you were allowed to ride colts. If
Yeah.
you took your rope down when it was necessary, you were encouraged to hold your rope. But if you kind of broke any of those rules, well, that stuff would get taken away from you. So it was good that way. But I've heard and seen yards where, no rope, no lope. You have to wear a reflective vest and a helmet to ride pins. And, you talk about like
Let's talk about that
restricting
one.
a guy's performance level. Like when you're not allowed to break out of a trot to get around one or something, well, congratulations. That guy's just going to keep trotting back and forth across the pen and making that sick cow even sicker. And now that sucker jumped out and is going down the alley, well, now he's got to bebop and follow along behind him until he can manage to get him wedged in a corner somewhere to get him in a set of pins. And now that cow's probably going to die. Congratulations, your corporate bullshit cost you a cow.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And
there's got to be a middle ground there.
Yeah. Oh, and you see, it always happens when you get somebody who's pretty damn salty. Usually a little down on their luck, needing a job, needing some money quick, so they hire onto a feedlot. And you can tell they're pretty handy, and they see something like that, and they're just like, silently screaming, saying, "Just hook him, get around that sucker, and push him out the gate." There's some that you can tell, like, you may not need a loop built yet, but you're also going to have to take them to the gate at a lope. Otherwise, they're going to cut back on you. You got to stay on their ass and don't give them a chance to look back. It's not everyone, but there's some, like, if you don't do it, you're going to take down a loop because that's the only way you're getting them out.
Right.
And if you can't understand that, like, otherwise you're going to need either 3 people to get that steer out, or like you said, you're going to run him to death and just make him sicker than he already is. And
turn a foot rot into a pneumonia.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, at that point, what the hell's the point of even having a fucking horse? I mean,
Yeah.
why are you horseback? Buy them some fucking muck boots and tell them they can't ride a horse. Apparently, I mean,
See, they
steel toe muck boots.
they'll one up you in Kansas. They don't even worry about the muck boots. They go with a high rider. It looks like a fucking Inspector Gadget mobile. Like it's on like the scissor lift, and you cruise around in there, and you can spot your sick cattle, and then you just radio to your cowboys so they can go pull them for you. That was a Cargill deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and that was one thing that, in Southwest Kansas, occasionally it does get damn it cold. I'm talking cold. And when it would get below a certain temperature, all the other yards would tell their cowboys, like, hey, y'all just, either drive a pickup down the bunk line and just, ride them from the bunk. And then if y'all see something to pull, you can go get it or whatever. But there was feedlots that would put their cowboys in a deer stand in the back of a pickup and drive them down the alley. And that's how they rode their pins. Not where I was. It didn't matter if there was a tornado, blizzard, hurricane going on outside. You were going to ride pins. And so that part would make you kind of mad. You're out there freezing to death. You're like, man, Jim Bob down the road's riding around a pickup right now, drinking coffee and having a good old time. I'm out here about to die.
See, I always because I started well, like I said, a manager trainee, but I rode my fair share of pins before I took the cattle manager job. I mean, when it got that cold, because especially there in Syracuse, we were right on the Arkansas River, down in the valley. Just that, you talk about a cold, humid son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And when it got that cold, I was just like, all right, everybody take an alley. We were walking through these, making sure ice, that the tanks are still running. And if they're sick enough that they need treated today, they probably ain't gonna make it to tomorrow anyways. So count deads, make sure we get all of our tanks thawed out, and that's it. Because there's no really on that cold of a day. If they need doctored that day, you missed them 2 days before. So they ain't gonna make it anyways. So it ain't worth it. It ain't worth it for anybody.
I distinctly remember one day there somewhere in the wilds between Scott City and Garden City, Kansas, that the wind was blowing out of the north, and I mean the mercury in the thermometer had froze a long time ago. And this alley stretches every bit of a mile, more like a mile and a quarter, like just one pin after the next. It's kind of separated by some little stuff. But anyway, cow number one in the first pin has his head buried behind the water trough, and all his buddies have lined up behind him all the way to the fence. The next pin starts behind that and makes a line all the way across the pins. It stretched from one end of the yard all the way to the other, one line of cows. That's how cold it was. I couldn't believe it. That was the wildest thing I've ever seen.
I'll be down.
But it can get cold in that country. Holy smokes, it'll get cold.
Oh yeah. Everybody thinks where I'm at here it's going to be a lot colder in the winter, but we've got kind of a little banana belt going here. Like it gets cold every now and then, but
yeah,
nothing like the the eastern plains of Colorado or southwest Kansas. That shit gets cold and just wind all the goddamn time.
Yeah, wind chill like -38, -40, something like that, and you're out there riding pins, wondering why in the hell you picked today to be a cowboy. Like, why didn't you quit yesterday?
The actual temperatures like right around freezing.
Yeah,
it's like actual temperatures 25, wind chill of -30. How fast is that wind blowing? Real fast.
Like real fast. I remember one day it was actually during the summer, but the wind is howling through that yard, and my horse keeps jumping every time we ride by the bump, like kind of snatch his ass and jumping away and stuff. And I was trying to figure out what was going on, and finally I stopped and I looked and I realized the wind's blowing so hard it's picking up pea gravel off the feed alley and slinging it through the air and hitting my horse in the butt. And he's jumping every time like it hit him. But the manager, the cattle manager rolls by and he's laughing. I was like, what's so funny? And like we're screaming at each other, from 5 feet away because that's the way you can hear the other guy. And he goes, if it was blowing 5 miles an hour harder, we'd be in a tropical depression right now. Ha, ha, ha. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's funny. That's real funny. Holy smokes.
Nick said, I know exactly where you were working, Dakota. They have no regard for help. You ride or quit. I think every feedlot cowboy ever knows of Pokey Feeders between Scott City and Garden City, Kansas. I've never worked there, but I know it very well.
Yeah. I will brag. They were pretty good to me though. One time, every 6 weeks you got a 3-day weekend, and I was leaving for my 3-day weekend, and Joe Morgan comes just by the hospital. And I had swung by the barn to get something. I think I was getting some bits or something. I was going to try to trade on something else or whatever. But
the cowboy wouldn't want to trade ever, would they?
Right. Yeah, exactly. He said, he's like, why aren't you riding pins? And I was like, oh, it's my day. It's my weekend off. He goes, you wait outside for me. I got to talk to these boys. Like, golly. So, I go out and wait outside, and Joe comes out there. He goes, you've been doing real good. Have a steak on me. And whips out a crisp $100 bill out of his pocket and gives it to me for my 3-day weekend off.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that place ain't all bad. It might carry a bad reputation, but it'd be a really good place for a guy to go learn if he wanted to decide if he wanted to be a cowboy or not. I would definitely suggest that place.
Well, I know it's a good place if you want to figure out how bad you want to work. I know that much.
Right.
I never had the. Well, I guess I had plenty of chances to go work there. I never took the opportunity to go work there, but I've heard plenty of stories, and the guys that I know pretty well, they all have the kind of the same story as you. It's like, yeah, they'll work your ass, but they treat you pretty good if you work.
Yeah.
But they
not
did,
a dumbass,
as Nick said, they will hire anybody and everybody.
Yeah.
And they don't give a shit about your feelings. There is work to be done.
Yeah. Well, I know for a fact that Joe was in his office one day, and this goes back to, like being responsible about what you're doing. And this is a good point. Is he looks out his office window and he sees a kid going down the alley behind a sick one and practicing his heel shot on this sick steer over and over. And he fired off down there and told him to pack up and head out right there, which, hey, that's fair. If you're not doing your job, hell yeah, get reprimanded. And one day a steer jumped out, like fresh into the yard, jumped out of the processing facility, and he is hooking it down the road to Highway 83. And I watched the steer roll by, and I'm like 2 pins down, and I'm like, man, that son bitch is flying. And this Suburban comes flying down the alley, and it's the head honcho himself. He rolls down his window. He goes, get your ass in the alley and get that steer caught before he gets to the highway. And I got to go to take my rope down. And I stopped and I looked at him. He goes, well, go ahead then. And I jumped out there and cooked it on this son of a gun right before he got to the asphalt. But I was like, if I get fired over this is going to be the biggest load of bullshit because he told me to do it. But I'm going to do it anyway. That's what I was told to do. But nah, they're not such a bad place. Like, you better have your work clothes on. I'll say that, but they'll take good care of you.
Yeah, that's kind of what I gathered of the place is they truly don't give a shit whether you stick around or not. But if you do, they treat you pretty good.
Yeah. When I was there's guys that had been there for I don't know, 20 plus years.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a well-known yard though. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you what their cattle performance is like. I don't have the foggiest idea, but I know how the Cowboys view it. But feedlot world's a pretty small world too. So
yeah, that place does carry a big old rep. That is for sure.
Yeah, but, there's a lot of butt hurt that comes out of pokey feeders.
Golly. Man.
Pokey and the butt hurt.
It's it's unique. I'll say that. It is unique.
Yeah. The old pokey a lot of times leads to butt hurt.
Yeah.
And I don't know. like I said, the guys that I know that have worked there that were pretty damn handy, they'd tell you that, yeah, you earned your keep, but they paid you pretty good, and they treat you pretty decent.
Yeah.
And the guys that weren't hands, they didn't make it, and
okay.
they typically don't have any good to say about it.
Yeah. But I think a guy would probably be better off spending some time there than trying to get his own deal started. Which I guess if you were a feedlot cowboy or a campman such as myself, or some sort of just general ranch technician, maybe trying to save all your pennies, buy a set of cows, and get some lease country would be your best bet until you could build enough to get going on your own. But even that, would throw its own set of challenges. I think you'd reach a point where your cows wouldn't be enough for you to sustain yourself or your family, but they would take more time than you could offer because you still have to hold down a job. There would be some gray area there that would be really, really tough. You'd have to have either a really, really, really understanding boss or some kind of a partner, like what Jesse was saying. And I've seen a few guys, pull off the partner deal. But man, like the way things are in the world right now, that'd be tough to find somebody willing to make that sort of a commitment.
Yep, it sure would be. It sure. I mean, it is. And even in a good cattle market, I'm not really sure what that is. In my whole life, I don't know what a good cattle market is. But I think one thing that a fella could probably do, there's lots of people who are in their twilight years. I think the average American age of a farmer is like 65 or 70, something like that. And there isn't anybody to inherit their place. And they don't see it turn into a development. And I think that if a fella had a good job, one that he's already supporting his family on, I think that you could find those types of people. And I know there was at one time, I wish I knew it off the top of my head, but there was actually a website where folks could kind of meet, right? You got young folks that want to take over a ranch or a farm someday, and then you've got an elderly couple that are ready to retire, but there's nobody to take over, but they don't want it to be a subdivision or something like that. And
it's called farmersonly.com.
No, that's not it. That's not it.
Damn it. All right.
It might be worth a shot, though, if there were real farmers on farmersonly.com.
Right.
I don't know. I'm not a farmer, so I couldn't tell you.
But actually, I am doing a little farming these days. It's kind of tragic, but
damn sodbuster.
Dude, it ain't quite Jesse, freaking hats off to you for putting up hay, because I couldn't do it. There's no way I could do it. I can't do it.
So I really think the solution, and I don't know if it's a one size fits all, but I think it's as close to the one size fits all that I can come up with. The best strategy that I have to start your own ranch from scratch right now, it's called the Chaz model, and you just occupy it. You scream and you yell and you spray paint a whole bunch of like kill cops and Black Lives Matter and shit like that.
Pasture
and the best part of it is you make yourself a communist society, so therefore you can make demands of your capitalist neighbors, and so far there hasn't really been any repercussions. So it's a foolproof plan at this point.
Yeah, it might work. You might pull it off.
If you did it like in Austin or somewhere, like if you just did it in the liberal parts of our states, like Boulder,
Missoula.
yeah, Austin, Santa Fe, Taos. Like, if you did it there, there's plenty of good ranch land around there, and like even the ranch owners in Montana, like the Hollywood types, they're super lefty. So they'll probably just they might go ahead and wash your feet and stuff. I don't know for sure. I can't guarantee the outcome, but I think this is our best bet.
Just occupy a ranch.
Yeah. I'm getting ready to occupy the Stetson Ranch. I'm going to protest and I'll burn something. I won't burn his house because I saw his dad's mustache and that thing is serious.
Oh, he's Selleck through and through, bro.
It is.
He's straight up Magnum PI, man.
All right, so I got a pretty awesome stash going right now. Like Mr. Stetson. Yeah, I look like a kid compared to that guy.
I'm pretty excited for you
like a baby.
Yeah, I'm excited for you to meet my old man.
I'm still working on Mustache May. It's coming.
You need to have like a little tiger doll with you at all. You kind of look like Calvin.
Me and Sarah were riding around feeding cows just this morning, and we were talking about Mr. Joe Exotic, and I was yelling like, just, Carol Baskin, that bitch whacked him, and I just and she goes, I need to cut your hair. You're starting to look a little Joe Exotic, and I was like, yeah, it's coming.
Well, see, Calvin turned into Joe Exotic, when that bitch in his class kept making fun of him. He just went off the rails. Started to like dudes that liked meth.
Yeah, it is starting to get a little exotic back there. I'll just let it go.
If you wear your hat backwards, Dakota, it actually makes it longer too.
Yeah. Keep that in mind. Thank you.
That's awesome.
I think though, if guys are starting their own cow herd, one piece of advice I would suggest is whatever money you make off those cows, don't frickin' touch it. Only put it for cows. That's it. That's cow money that it's like you don't even have it. I mean, you won't have any money anyway.
Yeah.
The $17 you think you got, don't touch it. Don't buy any.
Well, and I know people probably get tired of me like hammering the point of like the direct to consumer marketing, but I really truly think that is the way the market's going. And like, even if they get this MCool pushed back through, there's going to be a pushback wanting mandatory ID, like, and that's going to be an EID or RFID.
Yeah,
and if that happens, well, if you already do that to your cattle, and if you're selling direct already, like you're already set, like you're ahead of the market. And I don't know. It's a
good profit on that direct market deal, man.
It's a thing where you don't have to change your entire operation.
No, you don't.
Do it. But you may not make a profit on it, but you might be able to cut into your losses a little bit because at that point you're getting box beef prices rather than live cattle prices.
Yep.
And that's quite a little bit more. And it's a good deal for the consumer because if they got the space for it, they're getting every cut of meat at ground beef prices. And it's a really a win-win deal. You gotta get some of the regulations out of the way so that you can do that, and you don't have to go to these big four packers. That's the biggest thing. Like, everybody talks, there's a lack of competition, but that's
Yeah.
because of all the regulation. Like
It is.
those big guys, they don't mind the regulation because they can afford it.
They can put up with it.
And they know that there's only 3 other guys that can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, yeah, is there market collusion and price fixing? Absolutely there is. But we've allowed it to happen to this point. Like we as producers have allowed it to happen. Like we begged beef to be sold on the commodity market back in the 30s so we could be part of the New Deal bailouts. And you know what? People still went out of business even with all these bailouts. You know, there'd have been maybe a few more that went out of business without them, but the market'd be a lot stronger if it wasn't sold on the commodity basis. You know, if it would have still just been a cash market.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and you can still do contracts that way. It's just, you know, but you can differentiate your product. Like the big thing about selling on the commodity market is it's just live cattle. It's not live Angus cattle. It's not live Hereford cattle. You know, it's not live registered cattle. It's just cattle. You fall into a weight group and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, and then, so I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of this stuff that, it sucks because, you know, it was done before our time. Like the commodity market, that was way before us. You know, the checkoff deal is a big outcry. And it's one I agree. Like I just soon get rid of the checkoff program. The way it's legislated is you pay every time that dollar or that cow gets traded, $1 goes off the top to the beef council, and the beef council promotes beef, not cattle, beef, and not American beef, just beef.
Beef. Yep.
Just beef. And it's a pretty insignificant amount of money to the producer. And in the grand scheme of things, it really is. It's a small amount, but it's the principle that matter. Like $1 per head of your money is going to a fund that doesn't promote anything that you do. It promotes the end product of any beef, a cow from anywhere in the world. Benefits from that dollar, but your live cow doesn't benefit a damn thing. And so I think it's a good fight to take on. But once again, that was pushed through by the producers. Like we put ourselves in this situation, and there's not a whole lot of people willing to look inside and say, hey, you know, we did this to ourselves. And I don't know. It's a tough situation all the way around. I don't know what the good solution is. There's probably not a good solution for everybody. The best solution is do what's best for your place.
Yeah.
And I think that direct marketing is a good start.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important though for folks to. It's never too early to start planning this shit out, man. You gotta be thinking about it. And what we were talking about in the Snap group yesterday is I mean, you know, my kids are 13 and 14, and I'm trying to plan how they're gonna take this thing over when I'm 70 or maybe 80. I don't know. But you know, I don't think it's ever too late to figure that shit out. I mean, or too early. I'm sorry. You've got to be forward thinking, because you cannot count on the commodity based program to solve the problems of everything we've just listed: equipment prices, land prices, cattle prices. I mean, it interest rates, you know, they're always going to continue to go up.
Oh, we haven't even touched on the Fed.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, man.
Yeah. Well, and
you did it now. Here he goes.
Yeah. They pumped like $6 trillion into the economy in the last 3 months.
Yeah, what the fuck? Nobody wants to talk about
Yeah, like that is a real deal.
What
And
is my credit card?
yeah, so Copenhagen right now is about $5 a can, $5-6 a can. A couple of years from now, it's probably going to be like $8 a can.
Yeah.
Just because of inflation. Nothing to do with any external forces. It's just inflation from the amount of money they've pumped into the economy today. Your wages aren't going up, but the price of living is going to go up because there's more money in circulation. It's just all watered down. Your dollar is only going to be worth like 75 cents in a year.
Yeah.
I know of big ranches, famous ranches, that if you're a cowboy, you know that brand. You've heard of them, and they're paying their campmen like $1,500 a month. Like $1,500 don't get you shit these days.
No.
Not when you're trying to raise a family.
No.
It'd even be tough if you're a single guy trying to make a payment on a pickup.
Yeah.
Like,
true story.
Yeah, we were just talking. It's like $80,000 for a new pickup nowadays.
Yeah. Which is
that same pickup like 12 years ago, top of the line, decked out, diesel pickup, would have ran you like 45, 50. And now like a King Ranch, you're pushing up on $100,000.
Yeah.
That's a house. That's a house in Southwest Kansas.
Dude, that's a whole ranch in New Mexico.
Yeah.
Or land, they get like $300 an acre.
Yeah.
Yeah, and cowboying pays $1,500 a month room and board.
Yeah, that would probably be the reason that my ranch pickup is 5 years older than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. She
Part of
runs
it's
good,
because
though. She's been on fire twice, but she runs good.
And then probably because it's the last year of pickup that anybody can still work on without having a computer.
Yeah,
that's a great point too. You know, even we recently got a new skid steer. You look at all the fucking bullshit that's on that from the EPA. My fucking gosh. I miss my ancient skid steer that we had because you could jump in that sumbitch, start it, and go. This thing has to, you start it, you got to wait a good 5 minutes before you can idle that fucker. It's brand new. You got to wait a good 5 minutes before you can even idle it up because it's got to go through the diff fluid detent and dump that exhaust fluid, filter it all out or whatever. It's just bullshit, man.
I think that's another good point to the young person getting started ranching thing is I think you've got to be willing to buy older equipment that you might have to work on a little bit, because I've seen more than one operation that was off to a good start, but they either tried to get too big too quick, or they got in debt up to their eyeballs, getting new pickups, new trailers, new tractors, buying finished horses instead of starting their own colts. It just all these ways you could save some money, but I think we've developed into such a throwaway society that when something breaks down, somebody says, "Oh, we'll just get another one. Don't worry about it." Well, this is ranching. You can't just throw it away and get a new one. We don't do that here. That's kind of the name of the game, is making it work. But
I remember in high school when my buddy Clint Mandel, I was building a fence for his old man, and Homer Mandel was one of the best cattlemen I knew, and he was like, I won't say he was a cutthroat businessman, but like you weren't getting one over on Homer Mandel. He was fair as can be, but you weren't getting one over on him. And I remember he had a bunch of old rusty staples when we were building fence, and we'd have to straighten them out a little bit before we drove them in. And we custom and we custom. And then I go, and this wasn't even my land. I was just, I was leasing it, 40 acres to put my horses on. I had to go around the fence. And I went and bought 2 pounds of staples and, like, I don't know, what was it? Like $25 or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, fuck, I'll just buy them at Home Depot the next time. I was like, well, it's going to cost me $40 in fuel to get over there to save $5 on 2 pounds of staples. Well, and it's better off to support the local guy anyways. He's a good guy. I know they got a mark, but I was like, fuck, I wish I had some of those used staples right now. I would gladly pound them straight. So I didn't have to spend all this money on 2 pounds of staples. And it's, it's a pretty insignificant amount of money until you start snowballing it in with all the other shit that you got to buy to keep the place running. And
that's a great point, Matt. I mean, it's just like what I was saying about either raise cows or raise hay. It's one or the other.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is if you buy new equipment, and you can get the credit. You can get the credit, no problem. I mean, it's fucking wild what some people are able to convince a bank to give them money on. But if you buy brand new hay equipment and you start haying, it's going to cost you in fuel and payments on that equipment $90 a ton. Now, maybe you can sell that hay for $125 a ton, $150 a ton, depending on the relative feed value and all that shit. So you're going to save yourself $40 a ton, but you're going to put an astronomical amount of your time into that shit, and time that you could be spending taking better care of your herd, taking better care of your fences, maybe rotationally grazing your property to do a little bit better job of getting a good grass crop naturally or whatever. Man, it's tough to win, man. I mean, it's a hard deal. We were talking about saddles the other day. Fuck, you want a good quality lifetime using saddle. A basic rough out, no tooling, nothing fancy. You're going to be into that custom saddle for $4,000, $4,000, and you make $12 an hour as a pen rider. How the fuck do you pay for that? You know, I mean, it's nuts. I mean, it's stacked. And now you're talking about the Fed, right? And inflation and all that shit's going to go up. All those material prices are going to go up.
Yep. And all these tariffs that we put on. I know a lot of my listeners are big Trump fans, and Trump's big on tariffs.
Yeah.
Tariffs are fine until they hit the shit that you buy, and all that shit gets more expensive. So like when he put steel tariffs on, it was good for the guys in Pittsburgh. It was bad for everybody else that was buying steel from China.
Yeah.
And like it or not, we live in a global economy, and it kind of behooves us to be friendly with China. And I don't know, man. It's I'm really worried about where we're going here in the next couple of years. I don't mean to get just. I know the bull session's usually just a jackass fest, but like this shit's got me a little bit worried. Like we're at a point where like there's no reconciliation on a lot of like this whole Chaz deal. I like to make fun of it, and I'd like to see it continue. Like I really want to see where the Republic of Chaz, or now they're calling it CHOP. They
what
moved
does
from
CHOP stand for?
So Chaz is Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, and CHOP is Capitol Hill Organized Protest. So they're no longer seceding. So Texans, you can breathe a sigh of relief, you pussies. You pussies.
Come on, Dakota. You got to have something to say to that.
Yeah. There's only one Alamo. You know,
Hey, they
What
wanted to
it
tear
take
it
us-
down the other day. Is that going to happen?
they tried to, and a bunch of pissed off Texas boys showed up with ARs and said, "No, sir. I think you can turn around and
Good.
go home now."
That's good.
Yeah,
It goes
they-
back
they
to
defended,
my.
yeah, they defended the Alamo one time, and what was it? It's either 1834 or 1836. Don't hold me to it, but they did it once. Then they had to do it again in 2020 to keep the rioters off of it. But
No, I just it kind of struck me as comical that it the first people to secede from the Union since the Civil War was a bunch of far left communist Antifa in Seattle.
I wish Texas
what?
would secede. If they said, "Hey, we're seceding tomorrow," I'd probably pack all my stuff and head back home. I mean, let's be honest.
You know, I would probably head to Texas too. I don't know where I'd go, but my dad's place is only 60 miles from Texas, so I think I could make a pretty good stand of it. But
I know land, right around where I grew up is going for $20,000 an acre. So I doubt I'm going home. But the Panhandle in West Texas and the bigger ranch country, those are all really cool places to live. So probably somewhere in there.
Oh yeah,
So.
Yeah, and they're a little less spendy on the old pocketbook.
Yeah.
A little more
they're probably
wind,
not as
little
good
more.
they're probably not as good as New Mexico. $300 an acre, but there's probably some places where you can get it for $500-600 an acre, something like that. Maybe cheaper. I don't know.
All these western states, like Montana's in a pretty similar situation. New Mexico, Nevada, we're kind of dominated by a liberal legislature and governor, but
yep.
The outnumbered people wouldn't take a whole lot to take over the urban centers. There's a lot of guns in rural Western America. A lot of guns.
I mean, we lost them all in a boating accident. But,
Well, yeah. I mean, those boating accidents are a real motherfucker. I mean, I lose guns every damn time. But a good thing is you can always buy more.
Right. We all know how to swim.
Yeah, for sure. It's but I gotta say, like, I really think we're at a pretty crucial point in American history. Like, we are stretched real thin across the world militarily, and we are very, very divided on an ideological front here at home. Yeah. And I also say I think a lot of that, most of it, is media driven. I think if you actually look at some of the videos from these protests, you see a lot of protesters and counter protests talking to each other and realizing they're kind of on the same page. But you don't see that in the media because that doesn't drive narrative. The big deal is, like, our government fucking sucks. It doesn't matter if it's the Republican side or the Democratic side; they both fucking suck. And I think that's what you're seeing today. But the forces that be, being the media and those in power, they don't want you to see that. They just want you to see a bunch of riots in Seattle or Minneapolis, and you see a bunch of thugs looting, and you see a bunch of rednecks counter protesting with their guns, and all those folks, not all of them, but a lot of those folks have more in common than they realize, but they don't talk. And when you get to talking, you realize that the real enemy is those in power.
Yeah.
And that's what they don't want us to see. So that's kind of why I took a little more of a controversial stand on this whole, I guess Black Lives Matter protest. Is we've got a lot more in common with those folks than we realize. If we'd all just stop and listen to each other, but we don't, and we need to. That's the thing, is we're all just folks trying to get by, and we got people with a lot more money and influence than we do trying to divide us. And I don't know. I really don't.
Go ahead.
I say I don't know what the solution is, but I think the more we talk about it, the better off we are. Like, whether anybody listens or not, like, somebody's gonna listen at some point.
Yeah.
And if I can just throw enough stuff out there, I don't know, maybe it'll make a difference. Probably not, but I don't know. I think rather than just going back to our gut instinct of like, fuck those guys, like, I don't know, actually listen to what they're saying. I think it'd go a long ways.
Yeah. You have to remember that the government has one thing in mind, and the key point is, as long as you keep the people as divisive as you possibly can, the easier they are to control. So,
well, and you're exactly right.
Yeah, you're going to see more of, anytime anytime any one of the media outlets can obtain a video that shows, something that is going to make a group of people just hot, pissed off, angry, they're going to show it. That is going to be breaking news, because that's just another draw that they can make, another line that they can draw that
perfect example
boosts ratings and keeps people chewing on each other.
Yeah, perfect example is there in Albuquerque. They're talking about these far right extremists that were wielding guns at this protest, and then you dig into the story. Like, I don't know who the guy was that actually shot somebody, but apparently he was kind of an activist. But whatever, you can see it on video. He said something that pissed the crowd off. I don't know what he said, but the dude got clocked almost in the head with a fucking skateboard.
Yeah.
And then he ran off, had 3 or 4 guys jump on him, and then he pulled his gun, shot one dude.
Yeah.
And then immediately the militia stepped in and said, "Hey, everybody back off."
Yeah.
That guy, he surrendered his weapon.
Yeah.
Militia guys stood on it until the cops got there, and then they all laid down, surrendered their arms. And who got blamed? The fucking militia. Every media outlet says armed militia involved in shooting in New Mexico. No, they stopped a shooting from going any further.
Right. And of course, I don't even want to call her the governor. Let's just go full Joe Exotic. That bitch, Michelle Lujan Grisham up there.
I'm Matt McKinley, and I approve of this message.
She talks about how horrendous, this shooting was, and just made the guy out to be, just the worst guy on earth. But you watch the video, literally, they're jumping him. They smack him with a skateboard, which if you've ever been clocked in the head with a skateboard, it fucking hurts.
I've never been hit with a skateboard, but I've been hit with a baseball bat, and they're made out of close to the same wood.
Yeah,
it fucking hurts.
It hurts. And not to mention, if you don't even watch the video and you're just listening, you hear him screaming, "We're going to fucking kill you." Like, that's enough right there. If there's a group of people coming at me and they're screaming that they're going to kill me, and I happen to have my good old friend 45 there tucked behind my belt, guess what? I'm going to pull it.
Yeah.
And I won't feel bad about it.
And to be fair, if he had lunged into that crowd with his gun drawn and got hit with a skateboard, he would have had it coming. He did not.
Yeah,
he was talking.
He was backing up too. He was trying to leave.
He was talking when they turned on him. and then they
But you
turned on
won't
him.
see
They
that
hit him
on
with
the
a
news.
skateboard, and then he retreated. And only when they started to tackle him to the ground, he pulled his gun. He shot one guy.
Yeah,
That guy's is still alive, as far as I know, and yet it was the militia guys that were the instigators, even though they were the peacemakers in the whole situation. Because that crowd was about to get real worked up. And
yeah,
they stepped in with ARs and said, nope, we got him. And that
Right.
guy, he slid his pistol to one of those militia guys. He stepped on it, and as soon as the cops there, they all laid down their guns,
yeah.
surrendered
That-
peacefully. It was a good of an outcome as you could have expected.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it from all angles. Like, I mean, I don't know who's in charge of the militia group or whatever, but they handled that situation just about as good as you could ask for. Like, how
Yep.
would it have been any better? And they did it on the fly, like in the heat of the moment, did it.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
mean, it's sad who we have. I can't say leading the state because that would be the wrong adjective. Whoever's squawking on the TV up there, you know, on the Capitol Hill, you know, just divisive. I mean, just completely divisive. Oh, I mean, don't even get me started on. Here we go again. That bitch, Michelle Lujan Grisham. She's the worst. She's the worst.
Well, that's the issue with a lot of these talking heads, man, in office. They're full of shit. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And the media, man, they're a fucking corrupt bunch of snakes, period. I don't give a fuck if it's Fox News or CNN or whatever the hell flavor you subscribe to, man. They manipulate the narrative so freaking badly that the American people are not watching the truth. And the reality is, look, you corner a black bear, that some bitch is gonna tear you apart.
Right.
You see a black bear and you keep your distance and homeboy's gonna run off. I mean, he don't want no part of you. And I mean it's as and I know we're talking about people, and I'm not trying to water all that down, but the reality is a lot of this stuff is basic fucking natural fight or flight. Like you're talking about, man. I mean, the guy had a right to defend himself. He tried to de-escalate the situation. I bet you talk to that man and he'll say, listen, I was scared to death for my life, period.
Right.
I had no other course of action to take other than what I did, you know?
Right.
I stand by some bitch.
And if you watch the video, I mean, it wasn't like they were coming at him and he just pulled his gun. No, they were all over him. Like, had already knocked him down, rolled him around, like
somebody would have
whooping
taken
on him.
his weapon.
I mean,
Somebody would have taken his weapon.
Yeah, beating him like a redheaded stepchild, and that was his last. He wasn't getting away. They've already got him down.
Yep.
That's his last line of defense. That is, well, it's almost the whole reason the Second Amendment is there. We're not going to get into government tyranny right this minute unless Matt's going to pop off in about 30 seconds. But I mean, you have the right to defend your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's why it is there.
That's why I was like, really, my only solution to all of this is like, let people protest, but protests get out of hand.
Yeah.
And in that case, stay strapped or get clapped. And and just I shared this meme in the bull session. We'll have to add you to that Snap group, Dakota. Are you on Snapchat?
I ain't got Snapchat.
Well, you need to get it.
Okay.
I think I downloaded it on my phone, but I just never made any kind of an account.
But that's the one I shared last night, and that's the perfect is a perfect summation of what I was trying to say. Is you look at these guys and like this guy over here with the Black Guns Matter. Black Guns Matter is a group founded by Maj Touré, who is one of the biggest badasses in America right now. He is he's a black guy with long dreads from South Philly. He's as he will say, if you listen to him, he was allegedly selling drugs when he got arrested. He's never admitted to that, but he's just he's from the hood, and then he got to reading philosophy and our founding documents, and he was like, yeah, the Second Amendment makes a lot of sense to the urban community,
Right.
And, you look at the places that are the highest crime rates, like South Chicago, Baltimore, DC. Also, the most restrictive gun control laws in the country. California, anywhere in California.
Albuquerque.
And they've got some of the highest crime rates because you can't own a gun. So all these people that have grown up in these urban centers, these crime-ridden areas, they can't even defend themselves.
Right.
And so, like, but you look at that meme, is like, who got tear gassed? The protesters, that aren't armed. All those guys, and you look at them, they've all got the AR slung across their chest. Nobody's got their finger on the trigger. Everybody's practicing, good gun safety.
Right. No booger hook on the bang switch.
Yep. That's a peaceful protest. Jesse, you were saying the other day in Billings, there was protesters out in force on both sides, and everybody was fucking armed, and there was no confrontations.
Not one single confrontation. There were over 4,000 people involved in that deal. And
probably 3,500 of them are armed.
The police officer told me that there was not one single altercation during the entire event. And
an armed society is a polite society.
Absolutely.
That's right.
I mean, if I know you got a gun, I'm not going to be sporting mine out. I mean, that's just the way it goes.
Yep.
Period.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's like, everybody's been in one of those bar fights where like some big motherfucker steps in and you're just like, all right, I'm out. We're done now.
I haven't had as much whiskey as I thought I had.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what I tried to do. Like, hey,
I'm
buddy, can I
quick.
buy you a beer?
Yeah.
Hey, look at this $20 bill I just found. I'm going to buy some drink.
Definitely been there.
Yep.
While we're talking about being armed and gun safety and whatnot, I have a rule. I believe, and this is probably an unpopular opinion, but whatever. When it comes to carrying a sidearm for personal protection, I believe that concealed carry is for protection and open carry is for attention. If you're walking through 100%. And you've got a Desert Eagle strapped to your hip, I want to laugh in your face. Dude, we get it. You've got a gun. Congratulations. I'm sorry you didn't get a date to your senior prom, but you got a gun.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got a rule of thumb on this. If you are not at a Second Amendment protest, or you are not like training for a militia, there is no reason that your AR should be outside of your house, or you're participating in the Boogaloo, which hasn't happened yet.
But it can be your feed pickup, right?
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
Asking for a friend.
But like if you're walking around town with an AR, you're kind of a douchebag. If you're walking into Walmart with, like you said, a Desert Eagle on your hip, kind of a douche.
Yeah.
Definitely
put a 380 in your pocket.
Yeah.
And be done with it.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
I think open carry activists have been more detrimental to the Second Amendment than just about anything. Probably more detrimental than gun violence itself is the people open carrying. That like it's not a good look.
I've been around a few folks who have been asked why they're open carrying in like a place like say Walmart, and typically the way that they talk about it is from a place of, I mean, just appalling arrogance and fucking ignorance, where you're like, ma'am, you are making all of us Second Amendment supporters look like fucking jackasses, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, what's the fucking point? Like you said, dude, put that sumbitch somewhere. If it don't fit where you can't see it, get you something that does. Period.
Right.
I agree. Dakota, you're spot on, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I agree. That's been a thorn in my side for a long time. It's like open carry activists are basically the clan of the free speech movement. Like they're about the same. It's like, yeah, I get that you have the right to do that, but you probably shouldn't. Like there's the right to do it, and then there's, should I actually do this? Like,
right.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like that's the thing that I.
Well,
like,
you watch these guys, like, you know, the open carry activists or whatever, and they're in, you know, full battle rattle, and they're out there with, you know, vests on and stuff, and their freaking beer gut is sticking out 6 inches beyond the bottom of their vest. Like, you look like an idiot. You're not helping anybody.
Well, and then in this case of Albuquerque, they're defending a statue that nobody fucking cares about.
Yeah,
like nobody cares about. Go defend a convenience store.
Right.
Yeah,
that's the thing.
Or the Alamo.
Yeah, exactly. Like go defend something that means something to somebody. Like that statue means nothing to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, and all those folks like defending like a General E. Lee statue, like fuck the statue. Go defend the 7-Eleven that's going to get looted later. Like, go stand out there and make sure that guy doesn't lose everything he has.
Right.
That's what the militia's for.
Or the small business in your community, man. That's the fucking heart.
Yeah, exactly. I've seen so many videos of like little black women like, hey, this is, you know, either the grocery store I shop at or I own it or something along those lines. Like, go do something about that.
Yeah.
One of the most depressing videos I've seen through this whole ordeal, I don't know what else to fucking call it, chaos, is a black gentleman.
Simulation. That's what we call it.
Simulation.
It's this black gentleman just screaming. I mean, from the pit of his fucking soul, this man, you could tell, worked his freaking ass off for everything he's got. And he's screaming at these rioters and looters, why are you destroying my truck? I came from the ghetto too. Why are you destroying my business? You know, I've worked my whole life for this. That's the kind of thing you protect. Like that's where you stand in and say, no. Just like you talked about in your podcast, that one about the Rodney King riots and Koreatown. Same deal.
Rooftop Koreans.
That was awesome. Badass. And that's what this country's about. You know,
well, and that's the thing. Like all these militia groups, like all those folks that are willing to go out and speak up for the Second Amendment. Like I commend you. Like we should, everybody should. But like if you want to do some good, like strap your AR on and go to Minneapolis or DC or wherever and stand out in front of a small business and say, no, you ain't doing shit here.
Stand out.
You want to throw a brick, you're getting a 5.56 in the chest.
Yeah.
like that type of deal. Like, and
Well,
I'm not advocating for violence, but like if you want to make a difference, go defend one of those small businesses in the inner city that's getting just torn apart right now.
Hell yeah.
right. Well, like Jesse, you're saying like that guy that like watching everything he's worked for burn up. How excited would that individual have been if 5 minutes before 6 dudes had popped out of nowhere
With
and with their ARs took up 4 chalk positions on all corners and started dropping people that were trying to burn up his livelihood? He'd have been running around just happy as a lark saying, "Can I get you anything? Do you need a water? Can I get you another mag?
Yeah.
I will load it for you." Like,
here's a business.
Yeah, no
card.
shit.
Here's
Yeah.
a business card. Whatever my service is, you get it for fucking free, bro.
for
That's-
life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't want to pay taxes anymore. Ever.
Yeah. Yep.
That was an Armageddon.
I knew it was, man. I knew it. I was gonna say it.
I like it.
I love that.
I like it.
Ever.
Ever.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I got a lot of compliments on my simulation theory episode the other day, because really, like, in our neck of the woods, like we don't see any of that. Like, yeah, I know, like you saw it because you went into Billings, but like I don't go to town, and you know, like the town I go to is about 10,000 people, maybe. Not a big town.
Dang,
And,
that's a city.
yeah, right. Yeah, they got no O'Reillys. They're kind of a big deal, but
Wow.
what
What is this town that you speak of?
we don't see all that shit. And so like I've got a good friend from college that coaches volleyball at the University of Minnesota. Like, she's in Minneapolis. Like, she was right there. I saw plenty of videos and pictures of the actual protests, and the media will show you all these burning buildings, but like a block away there's 10,000-20,000 people just marching, just like, hey, this is fucked up. But the media will focus on the looting, and that stuff sucks, and I hate it. Like, but it's like every left-wing cause that a right-winger can get on board with gets just corrupted by these fucking communist assholes.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely, man. Every one of them. And
you had the whole fucking country on board with, like, these cops fucked up bad, and they like, something needs to happen. And then it turns into looting and rioting all over the fucking country, and then everybody just goes back to their corner and says fuck everything, and nothing happens. And I talked about it in the was it the last one or one before, but yeah, all these Democratic members of the House, like, you have the House.
Yeah.
You have a big majority in the House. You can pass whatever the fuck you want to.
Right.
You can get rid of qualified immunity. You can get rid of forfeit assetture. You can get rid of no-knock raids. Like, that's a bill in limbo right now to get rid of no-knock raids. What do? They put on African garb and take a knee in solidarity. Yeah, you did a whole... You did a lot of fucking good.
Yeah.
You mean a knee in pandering, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Like, you are the people that have the power in your hands to make actual change. And what do? You put on African garb and take a knee.
That was so...
Oh.
My favorite was the meme that somebody from Antifa, however the hell you pronounce it, Antifa, whatever. They said, "Oh, we're coming out of the cities. Rural people, we're coming for you." And I was like, "You do realize those of us that live out here, we literally make a living sneaking up on shit that we don't want to know we're there, and we catch them real quick." Like, we will find you before you know we're there, and we will bury you in a cave somewhere.
Yep. And nobody will find
and
Nobody
they
will ever find you, ever.
Yeah.
And
they don't move alone either. They move in a pack. So you'll just see a cloud of dust coming up the road and like, well,
yeah. Give me three cow punchers, and we could take out a good probably 20 or 30 of them, no problem.
Yeah.
Oh, easy. Before they even know what hit them.
Yeah.
We'll just buy a shit ton of pigs, They'll be gone in no time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Well, I don't even think we'd have to buy a bunch of pigs. I think you just buy them a bunch of plants, and they'll try to figure out how to make a garden and fail at that too. So.
Well, I thought about it. I was like, literally, by the time they get out here, they're either going to be begging me for water or fuel. So I think I've already won.
Right.
Yeah. They ran out of food after day 2 in the Republic of Chaz.
Yeah. Did they run out of food like on day 2?
Yeah.
Yep.
The end of day 2, they were out of food and water.
Yeah, they were sick. I think it was Nick that shared that meme in the bull session or whatever. No, maybe it was you. I don't know. The one about the farming. Farming on the.
That was probably Nick.
Oh my God, it was hilarious. I was like, yeah, perfect. These fuckers are trying to grow plants in potting soil without planting them in the potting soil on cardboard on fucking pavement.
Yeah, they put the cardboard on the pavement, and then they put it's like they were building a really shitty s'more.
Yeah.
They put the cardboard on the pavement. They put the potting soil on the cardboard, and then they set the pot on top of the potting soil. But they didn't take the plant out and put it in the potting soil. They just put the pot on top of the potting soil.
And from the videos that I've seen, there's literally a baseball field there with tilled ground in the infield.
Oh, that's a good point.
How much of a rocket scientist does it take to say, hey, if we were going to make a garden, it'd probably be a lot easier to use that tilled infield to make said garden?
Well, they don't teach you proper agrarian practices with your gender studies degree. So
apparently not.
This is a failure of education is what we got.
Yeah.
That master's degree in underwater basket weaving is really coming in handy right now.
Well, yeah, see, the thing is, you got to have water to be under the water, and you got to have plants to make the leaves to weave, and it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. It's a crazy world we're living in.
Yeah.
Crazy world.
Because it's
yeah. Anyhow, well, Tombstone, not the best Western movie of all time, but that's what won this poll.
Harumph.
Yeah. Dakota, where's everybody find you at?
Dakota Robinson on Facebook, Dakota Robinson Official on Instagram.
Bam. Jesse, how about you?
Jesse Stetson, my first name spelled with one S on Facebook and on Instagram. Stetson like the fucking hat.
Motherfuckers. I'm Matt McKinley. You can find me on Facebook, Matt McKinley, at MickerMac85 on Twitter and Instagram, and at Move Your Ass for the podcast page. And that's it for the bull session, fellas. That Thanks for coming on, and all you folks listening. Got to get up in the morning, so move your ass. We're burning daylight.